Today I'm speaking with Matt Van Horn and Dave Isbitski. Guys, how you doing?
Good.
Hey, how you doing, Dave?
Thanks a lot for coming here. Let's talk about behaviors.
Sure.
You guys start, because this is really a Silverlight topic, and I'm kind of a Silverlight novice, and you guys are a lot more experienced. So just define for me, what is a behavior?
So, a behavior is a pretty exciting thing when we look at designer-developer relationship, right? So with our Expression Studio product line, with Blend 3, we introduced something called behaviors. And what behaviors allow you to do is typically, if I'm going to do some type of interactive design, right, as somebody who's focused on that area, I may or may not know too much about coding, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy code and I'm going to paste it in, right? And a lot of that functionality will sit in the code behind page. What behaviors allow you to do is somebody who's familiar with C# or VB.NET, and a developer can go out, create a set of functionality in a class. They just implement a few of the interfaces. They can have that as a compiled DLL that somebody can pull in, and inside the asset browser in Blend, they can now look for these behaviors. So for example, the ones in the box are, you can navigate to, you can play a sound. Think of functionality like changing an image. Exactly. Or even doing some of the multi-touch, right? The ability to zoom and pan around. And that allows the person who's actually drawing the visual UI to drag a behavior from their asset panel right onto any UI element that's on the artboard, and it'll instantly add functionality. So if I want to have a button, when I click on the button and it plays a sound, maybe a click sound, all I have to do is drag this behavior over, and all of that implementation in the code is already done for me. So it's an opportunity for people who are creating the UI to pull these down, to browse this through a gallery, and for developers to contribute those kind of behaviors and those kind of implementations that they can put up there for people to browse.
Okay. So now you talk about these behaviors that you mentioned, zooming, playing sound, dragging. Are these really exclusive to user interaction, front end type things, or could they be more business?
Well, the behaviors tend to be aimed more towards interaction. Obviously, you can put a little bit of business logic, but that's really not the right place for that. I mean, the drag and drop functionality, that's a real common one. There can be a little business logic behind that, but that's specifically designed to move it from point A to point B and let you know these things are happening. They generally have a few very basic properties that you can set. David showed us a little while ago the multi-touch one, which
that's very cool. That's just a Windows 7. That's a behavior's only available on Windows 7, right?
That's correct. So the WM gesture event through Windows itself will bubble up into Silverlight. It's something called, and under the system input, you're going to have a frame render, and you'll have the ability to actually pan and move things around. And what's really exciting about behaviors, right, is they kind of take a different approach. Take, for example, casual gaming. You could write a casual game in Silverlight today that's entirely based on states that you build in the Visual State Manager and storyboards, and the rest of that interaction, whether I'm colliding with somebody, whether I have a laser and the physics of it, that can be done entirely with behaviors. So you've got an entire game, take Space Invaders, where I have in my Visual State Manager, maybe I have what my ship looks like if it gets hit, and what an invader looks like when they maybe have 3 animation states and when they get hit. And the rest of it is just a behavior of how the laser should go off that. It's a storyboard of moving left to right, and you can wire everything up and do it in a very visual way that allows you to kind of experiment, even as a developer, right? We talk about left brain, right brain. Even as a developer, I can visually experiment with these things, and I get the wiring of what I'm going to actually do in code to bring the rest of that functionality together.
But David, that's a pretty good example that you came up with there using Space Invaders. Someone should really build that and put that on Channel 9.
Yes, I would agree.
Yeah.
Matt did he did a Space Invaders for Facebook.
Yeah.
And I'll let him talk about that. Yeah, we're going to be showing that off soon.
As soon as Dave's been telling me to get around to it for a little while, so I sent Dave kind of an example of linking Facebook with Silverlight and not using ASP.NET to host the data interaction. So usually with Silverlight, you would consider right off the bat, let's use ASP.NET to get the data in there. But there's no reason why you can't use PHP. So I used the PHP Facebook API and brought that data into Silverlight and was able to render all your friends as little invaders coming to try to kill your Space Invader. So we're going to put that together as a screencast for Channel 9 as soon as I can finish. I got a first draft, but you know, it needs a little more work. So
Okay, so you're using Silverlight, you're using behaviors, and you're using the Facebook API to bring in some.
yeah,
of
and what he was saying so for the casual gamer, there's this what's the actual name of the library? That physics.
Well, People Voice has a bunch of behaviors that you can get on Expression Gallery. There's also something called Silverlight that Bill Reese and he down in Florida did that allows you to take some of the XNA stuff, port it directly into Silverlight. So there's a couple different things there that you can actually do.
I mean, the one uses the Fraser physics engine, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of work that's already been done with physics, so it's about wrapping that and putting it into a format that Silverlight can use. Yeah.
So with the behavior, right, you can make something, I can't remember the name of the behavior, but it basically gives it gravity. And you just drop it on anything, and as soon as you load that control, it goes right down the
20
screen.
meters per second.
Something like that, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so there are behaviors built into Blend, correct?
Yes.
And you can use those. They'll do things like drag and drop. And then there are behaviors that I can write if I wanted more functionality than that. How do I write those behaviors?
Well, you get a developer.
Well, I'm a developer.
Yes, I know. I'm just saying for the designer, you got to get the
So
developer.
are they written in C#? Are they written in Blend?
C#
Are they
VB,
written
yeah.
in XAML? Are they, what are they? I mean, what's the process of creating a behavior?
Yeah, I mean, their behavior uses, it's a dependency object, and it's...
Yeah, it's a class. It's going to be code.
It's a class.
VB.NET, C#. They're
Okay.
going to implement some interfaces.
Okay.
Compile it.
So
down
you
to-
have a few framework elements that you can use, like attaching and detaching. So that's going to fire off when you and that's handled internally, and you can have logic to figure out, okay, what am I attaching to, what am I detaching to. So you can figure out kind of when it's loading, you're going to get a reference to what you're being attached to, so that you can kind of figure out something.
And we can put in the show notes links to writing behavior. There's some real good beginning tutorials.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. All right, so now I've written behavior, I've hired a good programmer to do that, and I want to make that available in Blend. It's not built in, but how do I make that available in Blend so I can use it?
So you can, as long as you have your Windows Live ID, you can upload that to the Expression Gallery. So if you look for gallery.expression.microsoft.com, you can browse themes that people have done, you can browse images, you can also browse behaviors. So you can upload that, and it's kind of a marketplace where people can go, they can vote on your behavior, they can download your behavior, you can put information about your blog, and they can leave comments as well. So there's a marketplace for the behaviors that people can access through Blend. When they actually open up the asset panel, right in there will be a link to the Expression Gallery.
Okay. Do I need to go to that expression gallery if it's just I've written one just for myself? On the other one, concerned?
Oh no, you would add as a reference to your project.
And it's just like any other project.
Yep.
Add new reference, select a DLL, and then it shows up in my Blend or my.
And then it's
Yeah,
a drag and
reference.
drop, and you're done.
Okay. Well, that seems easy. That seems too easy.
It does.
Yeah, it's fun and exciting stuff, and I think it's when we look at casual gaming, when we start to look at mobile development, like Windows Phone 7, the ability to have predefined behaviors, to have predefined states and interaction, is something we haven't had in .NET before, and it's a pretty exciting thing to. You're almost mashing up. You get an idea for your game in your mind, and you can mash up the physics behaviors with the visual elements and things that people have done into your game.
And traditionally that's been a very heavy separation of focus, the visual and the stuff that drives it.
Yeah.
Complete. I mean, they don't come together until they're rendered.
Yeah, we were talking this earlier. That there aren't a lot of people that do design and development work. There are even fewer, I think, that do good design and really understand physics, mathematics and physics. I think those are just skills that typically you need to separate those out. To use the people involved.
Which fortunately, with this behavior, you don't really have to know physics because, let's face it, it's a lot of work to actually implement physics.
You can buy the physics.
Yeah.
You
Well, it's
can
drag and
import-
drop.
You can import the physics.
The way physics should be.
Okay. Anything else you can tell us?
There's some other things that you saw before where, since Silverlight 3, we've also had pixel shaders in there. So pixel shaders are usually written in native code. They're not in .NET, but they allow your graphics processing unit in your machine to do specific effects. So you can do water rippling, glowing effect, or you can even make if you apply it to a video brush, you can make it look like a grainy piece of film, right? So all of that, there are also pixel shaders that are available. Some are on Codeplex, some are in the gallery. You just reference those in Blend, and you're going to be able to pull them inside of your asset library, you'll also see the pixel shaders there.
There's a phenomenal example of what you can do with that. There's an explosive data grid. So they took
Yes.
the core data grid from Silverlight and they made it explode. So you click anywhere on it and it just starts fracturing and exploding.
Is there any
that was
technology that
people's-
can't be
yeah.
enhanced by an explosion?
You know, it's not really going to sell a line of business app, but it sure is fun to
Sure
watch.
is fun.
And some bacon and explosions. Just make everything better.
You know what? A bacon data grid would be mighty tasty.
All right, good. Anything else?
I would recommend, to get started with Silverlight, there are free Express tools.
Yeah.
So you do not need the full-blown Visual Studio. You can download it, just the Express version. You download the Silverlight tools, and in Visual Studio 2010 Express, you also now get the full visual rendering of Silverlight. So for those people who have checked out Silverlight in 2008 before, you only had the XAML editor. So the engine that was used in Blend visually, if you're more comfortable with Visual Studio, you can now actually visually edit your XAML, set properties, and do all of that. So you get that. You can also start out with Blend. If you don't have an MSDN subscription, because it becomes part of that, you can also download a trial. And I think it's about 60-day trial right now, and you can see what that tool is like. You have the ability to load solution and project files back and forth between the two.
And work with both concurrently.
Yep.
Very cool. Let's wrap up. Tell me where to find out more about you, David.
My blog is coolstuffwith.net, so coolstuffwith.net, and you'll see links to my Twitter that goes straight to my Microsoft email address. You'll see events, things that I'm working on, all of that's available on my blog. So that's the best place.
Anythingtheycando.com and infragistics.com.
Congratulations on the new job.
Thank you again.
Guys, thanks a lot. I really appreciate it. Enjoy the
Anytime.
Pittsburgh Code and have
Thanks. There's nothing like talking about exciting new technology with friends.
That's exactly what I said.